You have been drinking water your whole life, and at some point, someone told you that you probably aren't drinking enough of it. 8 glasses a day, half your body weight in ounces. Drink before you're thirsty. By the time thirst arrives, you're already behind. Most people believe this. Most people live by it. It sounds like the safest possible piece of health advice anyone could give. And under normal conditions, on normal days, the advice is harmless. You drink a bit more than you need, your kidneys quietly handle it, and you go on with your life feeling responsible. But under specific conditions, that same advice becomes something else. It becomes instruction that killed a 28-year-old marathon runner at mile 22 of the Boston Marathon. It becomes the directive that ended 4 soldiers during routine training exercises in a single year. It becomes the thing a healthy college student did before going to sleep and didn't wake up from. Not from dehydration, from water. There is a mechanism running inside your body right now that can take the thing you reach for to protect yourself and turn it into the thing that finishes you. It is not rare biology. It is not a genetic anomaly. It is basic physics, operating exactly as designed, given too much of the one thing it cannot handle in excess. And the reason it keeps happening, the reason those runners and soldiers and young people keep dying from it, is that the advice never changed. The mechanism was always there, nobody mentioned it, so let's talk about it. Starting with what water is actually doing inside you, because the answer is not what most people think. But to understand why too much water can kill you, you first need to understand what water is actually doing inside your body. Because most people think the answer is obvious. It hydrates you, it keeps things running. That's true, but it's not the whole picture. Your body is essentially a system of compartments, and water sits on both sides of every cell membrane, inside the cell and outside it. And the thing that controls which way water moves between those two sides is concentration. Specifically, the concentration of dissolved particles in the fluid. Sodium is the main one. Water always moves toward whichever side has the higher concentration, trying to equalize. This process is called osmosis, and your body depends on it for almost everything. Your blood sodium sits between 135 and 145 millimoles per liter under normal conditions. Your kidneys monitor this constantly. They adjust in real time. The system is remarkably good at holding that number steady until you flood it. Here's the thing about your kidneys. They can process roughly 1 liter of water per hour. That's the upper limit for a healthy adult at rest. Drink faster than that, and water starts accumulating in your blood faster than it can be cleared. And when that happens, the sodium concentration in your blood drops. Not because you've lost sodium, because you've diluted it. This is called hyponatremia. Blood sodium falls below 135, and at that point, osmosis does exactly what it's supposed to do. Your cells see that the concentration outside them has dropped. So water flows in, into the cells, equalizing the balance. And the cells swell. Most of the body handles some swelling. There's room, there's flexibility. Your brain does not have that option. Your brain sits inside your skull, a sealed box, fixed volume. When brain cells start swelling from excess water, the pressure has nowhere to go. It builds. First you get a headache, then nausea, then something that looks like confusion or drunk behavior, then seizures. In the worst cases, the pressure reaches the brainstem. The brainstem stops regulating breathing, and someone dies from drinking water. Now, here's the part that should actually alarm you. This isn't theoretical. It isn't a 1 in a billion edge case. It has happened enough times that multiple institutions have been forced to formally rewrite their guidelines because of it. In 2002, a 28-year-old woman named Cynthia Lucero collapsed at mile 22 of the Boston Marathon. She died from hyponatremia. She had been drinking water at every available station, following the standard advice of the time, which was to stay ahead of thirst. Her sodium had dropped far enough that her brain had swelled inside her skull. She crossed no finish line. She did everything she was told to do. 3 years later, a study published in the New England Journal of Medicine looked at 488 runners who finished the same race. 13% of them crossed the finish line with clinically low blood sodium. Not dehydrated, overhydrated. 3 of those had levels low enough to be considered critical. These were people who completed a marathon. They looked fine, but in reality, they were not. The military has its own version of this story. In 2002, 4 soldiers died from what the army documented as exercise-associated hyponatremia in a single training year. Recruits had been told to drink continuously to prevent heat injury. The water itself became the injury. The army subsequently rewrote its hydration guidelines. The advice changed. The deaths had already happened. And there is one more population where this becomes dramatically worse, and it matters enough to say directly. MDMA, the drug commonly taken at concerts and festivals, does 2 specific things that interact catastrophically with this mechanism. It triggers a hormonal signal telling the kidneys to hold on to water rather than excrete it, and it causes a compulsive urge to drink. The result is that the body is simultaneously retaining fluid and actively adding more, while the kidneys are chemically prevented from clearing it. Dozens of deaths, same mechanism, same swelling, same pressure. The cause of death on the certificate says the drug, the physics say water. So, what is the actual number? And what does it mean for people who are not running marathons or taking anything? 1 liter per hour. That is the ceiling. Below that, in most conditions, your kidneys keep up. Above it, water accumulates, sodium drops. The process starts. The risk rises when you are also sweating significantly, because sweat contains sodium. So you are losing sodium through your skin and replacing it with plain water, dropping the concentration from both directions simultaneously. This is exactly why athletes are more vulnerable than people sitting still, and it is exactly why plain water under extreme exertion is a different thing than plain water at a desk. Sports drinks with electrolytes exist specifically because of this mechanism. Not primarily for energy, for sodium, to replace what sweat removes so that the concentration in your blood doesn't collapse while you're drinking volume to replace what you've lost. Now, here is the thing that reframes everything else in this video. The recommendation to drink 8 glasses of water a day has essentially no rigorous scientific basis. It traces back to a 1945 nutritional guideline that was widely misread from the start. The original text actually specified that most of the water a person needs is already present in prepared foods. That second half was dropped somewhere along the way, was never corrected at scale, and became the foundation of an entire industry of hydration advice that persists to this day. The actual mechanism your body uses to tell you when to drink is thirst. And thirst is not a delayed warning signal that arrives after you're already dehydrated, the way you've probably heard it described. In a healthy person, thirst is a real-time measurement of blood sodium concentration and plasma osmolarity. It is precise, it is calibrated, it is not broken. The advice to drink past thirst, to drink on a schedule regardless of whether your body is signaling for it, is the advice that created a documented pattern of deaths in runners, soldiers, and festival attendees. So, back to the person who is hot, who has been outside, who is following the advice and drinking steadily and feeling responsible about it. In most cases, nothing bad happens. The kidneys keep up, the sodium stays stable, the system holds. This is not a reason to stop drinking water. It is a reason to understand what the system actually is, because the assumption that more is always better is not neutral. Under the wrong conditions, it is the assumption that turns the thing you're using to protect yourself into the thing that kills you. So here's where we land. Cynthia Lucero was 28 years old. She had trained for that race. She had prepared. She had followed every instruction she had been given with complete accuracy, right up to the moment her brain ran out of room to keep swelling and her body shut down at mile 22 of a course she was never going to finish. The advice was wrong. Nobody had told her. Your kidneys clear roughly 1 liter per hour. Drink faster than that while your sweat is simultaneously pulling sodium out of your blood and the concentration drops from both ends at once. Your cells do exactly what they are designed to do. They absorb the imbalance. And your brain, sitting inside a sealed box with a fixed amount of space, has nowhere to go. This is not an argument for drinking less. It is an argument for understanding what your body is actually asking for when it signals thirst, which is not simply more volume. It is the right concentration, sodium alongside fluid. A calibrated response to a calibrated signal. Thirst is that signal. It is not broken. It was never broken. The advice that told you to override it was, the water hydrates you, right up until it arrives faster than your body can process it, at which point it stops hydrating you and starts doing something else entirely. The physics don't negotiate. They don't adjust for good intentions. They don't make an exception because you were following the advice. Next time you're outside in the heat, sweating, trying to be responsible, and someone hands you a bottle and says, keep drinking, stay ahead of it. Now you know what that advice assumes, what it doesn't say, and why sometimes the thing that everyone agrees is keeping you alive is the thing that, under the right conditions, quietly, without warning, isn't. Water didn't kill those people. The rate did.